Good morning, everyone. I'd like to call the meeting to order and acknowledge that we are in Treaty 1 territory, the home and traditional lands of the Anishinaabe, Ojibwe, Innu, Cree, and Dakota peoples, and in the national homeland of the Red River Métis. Our drinking water comes from Shoal Lake 40, First Nation in Treaty 3 territory. My name is Robert Hutchings. I'll be chairing the hearing this morning. Joining me on the panel are, Ian Mon and Faye Branson. Representing the Assessment Department, City of Winnipeg, is Nathan Kupfer. Our administrative assistant is Sally Caulfield today. We will be hearing applications for revision of the assessment roll in accordance with the Municipal Assessment Act. The matters for which revision is requested have been described in each application, and we will limit discussion to those matters. The statements that are made at this hearing are sworn testimony, and anyone speaking to the matters must be sworn in. Be advised that comparisons of assessments of properties are not considered evidence of market value by the Board of Revision. The Board of Revision is appointed annually by Council and is independent of it and the City Administration. It makes its decisions on the basis of the evidence provided at this hearing and issues a written order that will be mailed to all parties as soon as possible. Please note that the board's decisions with respect to an application may be appealed to the Manitoba Municipal Board if the matter pertains to assessed value or classification, or to the Court of King's Bench if the matter pertains to the application of exemptions from taxation. Should you wish to appeal, information on how to do so will be included with this board's order. With respect to the hearing process, I will confirm the points of appeal with your property to be addressed with each applicant following their swearing in. We will then have the assessor's testimony followed by questions that the applicant may have, and then the applicant's testimony followed by questioning again. Each side will have an opportunity to summarize if they wish. Once all the evidence about an application has been brought forward, the applicant may leave. The process will repeat for each item on the docket today. The session will close after all the applications have been heard, and the board will deliberate in private and make its decisions based on evidence presented here today. You will receive the board's decision by registered mail as soon as possible. As information, all public hearings are live streamed, recorded, and will be part of the public record. We will be hearing items 2 through 6 on our docket today. Ms. Caulfield, please affirm the assessor and the applicant's testimony.
Mr. Assessor, please state your full name.
Nathan Kupfer.
Do you affirm that the evidence you are about to give at this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Please stand and state your full name.
Marcelo Navarro.
Do you affirm that the evidence you are about to give at this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sally. Good morning, everyone. First item on the docket today is item number 2, file number 23-395. The address is 1844 Portage Avenue. We're dealing with a 2024 Realty Assessment Appeal. Mr. Kupfer, bear with me 1 second. I'm going to find your brief here for the subject property. There we go. Mr. Kupfer, when you're ready, please.
1844 Portage.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Like you said, this is file number 23-395. The roll number is 0702002910, and the street address is 1844 Portage Avenue. This was an owner-occupied Husky gas station. It was purchased after the reference date in 2022 and has since changed hands to Red River Co-op, as you see as the current owner on the first page of my form. This is a gas station property. No car wash on this. It's just the kiosk, pumps, tanks, and canopy we're looking at here. The actual year built is 1954, and we have effective year built of 1974. The land area is 18,300 square feet, and the leasable area is 1,920 square feet. We have a 2024 model-driven assessment of $1,521,000 that I'm going to be recommended be maintained today. You scroll to page 2 of my brief, you can see a bit of the subject sale history. I don't believe we have any clean sales on this property. Husky, or rather Synovus, I should say, there's a large sale of multiple Husky gas stations between Synovus and Red River Co-op. I believe this is the case with a few of the gas stations that we'll be discussing today, and it was the case with this one. So that's that 2022 sale there. It's a package sale and it's post-reference, so that's why it's all been removed. Page 3 of my brief shows photos of the subject property. Like I said, we're on Portage, right on the corner of Portage and Roseberry, so we're in the St. James neighborhood here. My opinion, there's a good land to building ratio here. Nothing really off about the property from what I can see. Page 4, I've included a selection of rent comparables. This includes both kiosk rents as well as some car wash rents. Some of these are older, some of them are newer. The general trends, of course, that you're going to see are that kiosks, which are much smaller, tend to rent with quite a bit higher rents per square foot, whereas kiosks, which are larger or medium-sized, tend to trend downwards, more to a middle ground. This subject property, 1,920 square feet, as you can see on my page 5, it's being modeled at $35.83 a foot. In my opinion, that puts it in conjunction with comparables, I would say 12 and comparable number 1, which are similarly sized, both renting at around that $40 range. Everything else here with our workup, our modeled workup here is fairly standard, 2% vacancy, 3% expenses, a $6 shortfall, and in this case, a capitalization rate of 5.7%. Many of our gas stations tend to get lower capitalization rates than you see from office properties, retail properties, that type of thing. And this one is no exception, being modeled at 5.7. Page 6 shows a summary of the income stream. Like I said, only one income stream for this property as there's no car wash on site. The income stream totals $1,143,000, and then the additional building value is $378,000. So the additional building value for these gas stations is the cost component of the tanks, canopy, and pumps. And then the income stream is effectively from the kiosk store. So that's how that's generated. The cost value of the tanks, gas, and pumps is added onto the income stream. That's the additional building value shown of $378,000. And that gives us a total estimated value for 2024 of $1,521,000. Page 7 and 8 of my brief are just standard inserts here showing our general capitalization rates, as well as Municipal Assessment Act excerpts. And then the final page of my brief, page 9, is the income and expense submission by Husky Energy, simply stating that they consider themselves to be owner-occupiers, I believe, with no rent in place here to use. So we are going to be using comparable rents. I believe I presented a pretty fair selection on my page 4 there. Again, some quite high, some quite low, generally corresponding to the size of the kiosk. In this case, I think the value that our model has generated is quite reasonable, and I'm going to recommend that that value be maintained. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kupfer. Marcelo, any questions of the assessor's evidence presented?
I do. If you could please go to your page 7 on your capitalization rates. Can you tell us where the capitalization rate for this property is drawn from?
It's not drawn from any of these. This is just an overall representation of the averages for the city of Winnipeg, and then obviously our external sources for Colliers, CBRE, and Cushman Wakefield. So I wouldn't say it's directly drawn from any of these numbers.
Okay. Would you consider this a retail property, an industrial property?
I certainly wouldn't consider it an industrial property. I would say it has retail components. But gas stations, I think, are fairly unique.
And so essentially what you're saying is that there's no supporting evidence for the cap rate. The cap rate is simply just a model-driven number.
Correct. We don't have specific cap rates for gas stations, unfortunately, that I can point you to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, in terms of the rents that you have on page 4, I'll note that you have an SKP net rent for comparable 1 and a VCW net rent for the car wash and an annual pad site rent of $105,000. Now, is that taken directly from the income and expense questionnaire?
I didn't prepare this sample size, so I can't say if it was sourced directly from the income and expense questionnaire.
Okay. I guess that's all my, well, actually, no, I do have an additional question. You'll note that this property also has only 4 dispensers, correct?
That looks to be correct based on the photo. I can't confirm 100%.
So usually how this works is there's 2 pumps on each dispenser. So 1, 2, 3, 4 dispensers. So effectively there's 8 pumps there. There are obviously much larger capacity gas stations. Would you say that this is more on the lower end of the scale or on the upper end in terms of pumping capacity for a gas station?
A very broad question. I'm going to say it's somewhere around the average.
Okay. So you make no distinction between, say, a 16 dispenser gas station and a 4 dispenser gas station?
Those differences would be calculated based on the additional building value, as that's where that value is driven, I believe.
Okay.
Pumps, tanks, and canopy.
Those are my questions. Thank you. Oh, Mr. Chair, there is an additional piece of rebuttal regarding this as well. So I don't know at what point you want to see that.
I think we're going to have questions from the panel first.
Okay.
And then we'll proceed. Faye, any questions of the assessor?
No, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Ian, any questions?
I do have a couple. Thank you, Mr. Chair. With respect to the $378,000 calculated for the additional building, you told us what went into that: canopy, tanks, etc. Are there parameters that lead to that evaluation, or is that purely model driven? As you said, we're going to be dealing with a number of different gas stations today, and I'm wondering if there is a unifying calculation or formula with respect to the additional value of the buildings.
That's a really good question. So I've never built one of these specifically within our model, but my understanding is our cost valuations are derived based on the Marshall and Swift cost manuals. So this is a standard cost manual for cost-based appraisal. So it would just be simply updating that every few years based on our assessment cycles. And then that's where the value is driven from. And then that's fed into our model.
Thank you. The comparable rents, moving to those now, I know you've got the net value there, and that's at or the net cost per square foot of those. And I'm looking at the model driven rent here of $35.83 per square foot. And just to be clear, that's the kiosk, that's the store area that we're talking about here.
That's correct.
Okay. I note in your income value summary on page 6, there's an asterisk beside potential rent, and then the explanation beside the asterisk is the estimated potential rent is net of all expenses to the owner, including the cost of management. What other expenses are included in that net, or is that like a triple net, or how is that net calculated, including the cost of management?
Yeah, so management's not being included as a non-recoverable expense here, as you can see. We just have a flat 3% being applied. And that's meant to encompass a wide range of non-recoverable expenses to the owner. So effectively, this $35.83 is meant to represent a net rent. Yeah, that's about all I have on it.
And all the comps are net rents as well?
That's correct. Yes, we always try and identify net rents as best we can for our comparables.
And finally, those comps come from income and expense mailers, or they're not, you're not giving us modeled comps for a modeled rent?
No, they're certainly not modeled or assessments. Again, I didn't put the table together specifically, but generally speaking, all of our comparables come from income and expense data.
Okay. Thank you. I don't have anything further.
Thank you, Ian. Excuse me. Nathan, first of all, the location of this gas bar, can you explain how far up Portage Avenue it is?
Yes, this is Portage and Roseberry. You can picture that the Red Bomb fireworks on Portage there. It's right beside that. Pull it up on a map and give you some more side streets here if you'd like.
Are we all the way out to the perimeter nearly, or are we back somewhere in mid St.
No.
James?
Yeah, we're mid St. James by like Parkview, Roseberry, Collegiate Street, Ferry Road. That area.
Okay. I see. Right. Okay. And this was purchased post-reference by Co-op, Red River Co-op. And when they rebranded it, did they do any upgrades, or was it just a matter of new signage? And do you have any information on what took place physically and the property represents current physical condition?
Yeah, so I actually did do a permit search on this one, and all I could see for dedicated permits were actually sign replacement and a bit of electrical work, likely related to that sort of signage and changeover. So no big renovations post sale.
Okay. My next question item, page number 4, your comparisons. Let's see, comp number 1, 5, 12. That have relevant rents. They have car washes. The rest don't have car washes. Am I reading that right? Yeah.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah. Okay. And you're using about $36 a square foot for the kiosk area, and the other component, that $378,000 is Marshall Swift costed for. Would that be 4 pumps, or is that considered 8 pumps when they're doubles?
That's a good question. I'm not sure it would be entered specifically, but I think
Okay, that's okay.
Point about the pump number there. Yep.
Yeah, and that's for the pumps, the canopy covering those pumps, and the tanks on the property that the fuel is stored in. Is that right?
That's right.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Nathan. Marcelo, maybe since we've got the assessor's brief up right now, maybe we'll deal with the rebuttal right now.
Okay.
Marcelo, give me a moment here. Is this available, Sally, in our online here?
I have just uploaded a document entitled item 02 to 06, Altus rebuttal, into the SharePoint folder.
Okay, so Marcelo, before you start, we're gonna close down here, refresh, and pull up your information, okay?
Okay.
Can I also get a copy of the rebuttal, please?
I'm working on it.
Thanks.
Got it, and it disappears, so.
Okay.
Yeah, I've received it now.
I have received it also. Faye, you've got it? Okay. Nathan, do you have it yet?
Not yet.
Okay, we'll wait for Nathan to receive it.
Sending
Let,
it
let me know when you've got it, Nathan, please.
And I've got it.
Okay. Would you like to review it for a minute and before Mr. Navarro starts? I have to blow this up. Okay.
Looks like it's just one page. You can go ahead and start if you'd like.
Okay. Mr. Navarro, when you're ready, please.
Okay, so you can see that this is part of the tenant role for Seasons of Tuxedo. I excluded all of the information except what is pertinent to 690 Sterling Line Parkway. This is taken from the 2020 INE. You can see that 690 Sterling Line, the start date of the lease in 2013 and the end in 2033. The base rent at 114,999 or effectively 115. And under square footage, you can see one. Again, this is taken from the INE. There is no mention of a rent for the store and for the car wash. So I would assume that this is something that the assessor has actually done. But this is actually not what is in the lease. Can you confirm that, Mr. Cuthbert?
Could I ask what item on Nathan's evidence this is referring to?
Comp one,
Pardon me?
comparison one.
Comparison one. Okay, thank you.
Sorry, what was your question, Marcelo?
Can you confirm that what you have written as the rent for the SKP and the VCW is actually not coming from the rent roll?
No, I can't confirm that. What I can see based on this rebuttal submission, you have a start date for the first line of July 1st, 2023, and an end date of July 1st, 2023. And then underneath that, you have 690 Sterling Lion with a start date of September 1st, 2023, and an end date of September 1st, 2028. So I don't know how this could have come from the 2020 income and expense mailer.
Okay, I think you're looking at the wrong one, maybe. It's the one that says shell. It's right in the middle. It's the one that's actually, there's nothing actually crossed off on it.
Okay.
Okay, you can see the start date is 8/2/2013 and the end date is 8/31/2033. Can you see that?
Yes, I can see that.
Okay, now under rentable square feet, you see one, right?
Yes.
Okay, and that would be because it's a pad lease.
Again, I haven't reviewed the income and expense mailer for 690 Sterling Line, so I can't confirm that any of this is consistent with what was submitted.
Okay. Those are my questions then. Thank you. That's the rebuttal.
Okay, thank you. Ian, any questions of the rebuttal?
No, thank you.
Faye, any questions?
No, thank you.
Okay. And I have no questions either. Marcelo, bear with us while we get your brief up for the subject property. Does everybody have 1844 Portage Avenue up?
Yep.
Ian, Faye? Okay, thank you. Nathan, you've got it?
I do.
Okay, thank you. Marcelo, when you're ready, please, 1844 Portage Avenue.
Okay, this is 1844 Portage Avenue. If you could please turn to page 8. You can see the street view picture of it. And the bird's eye view on page 9. So again, this is a 4-dispenser gas station. So 4 dispensers, 2 pumps on each side. That's 8 pumps in total. On page 13, you can see our comparables. We go about this slightly differently. So if there is a C-store and car wash, we simply divide that square footage by the lease rate. So we come up to slightly different numbers than the assessor. Again, we have some only C-store comparisons there on numbers 4, 7, 8, and 9. And the rent that we've applied is actually not 30, it's actually 28. The vacancy allowance is 2%, shortfall is 6%. Non-recoverable expenses of 7%. And that includes the non-recoverable portion and the other. And a cap rate of 6.75. In terms of the store valuation, we valued it at $722,466. In terms of adjustments, we've made cost adjustments of $425,000, and that is again for the canopies, pumps, and tanks. So our end value is $1,147,466. And that is the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Nathan, any questions of the applicant's evidence presented?
I think you could repeat what you said there about how you derived a different rate from the city rates.
Okay, so I guess what I was pointing at from the rebuttal information that I presented, the SKP rent is actually something that the assessor is coming up with. I don't know the formula for it, but it's certainly not based on the lease. So we've taken a look at the lease. That's why I provided that portion of the lease coming from the 2020 INE. And on the INE, it only indicates 1 square foot, meaning that it's a pad lease. Now, the way that we do it is we simply divide the square footage of what's ever there, whether it's an SKP and a car wash combined, divided by the total lease amount. That's not what the city does, and I don't exactly know the formula for what the city does, whether it's portioned in some different way, I'm not sure, but that is not coming from the lease, and I hope that explains why I said that.
So this was a 1-page snippet from a lease for 690 Sterling Lion. That's what the rebuttal was?
Sure. We have taken a look at the lease though itself, and it actually does say the very same thing. Now, we're not going to provide the lease, but that is the information that the owner submits to the city of Winnipeg. So I don't know how the city can say that I don't know how the city came up with this.
Okay. Regarding your comparables, which one could you identify as the strongest comparable for the subject property?
Well, because we have everything kind of itemized here for 7, 8, and 9 are likely the best comparisons.
And have you made any adjustments for the age in which these leases were signed? For example, comparable 9 was signed all the way back in 2010 and is clearly the lowest rent.
Yeah, and of course I have made some adjustments to it. Also note that the gas station itself, even though it's been rebranded and has had some, new fascia on it, new signage on it, it is still fairly old. So I think $28 is representative of it.
Page 15 of your brief, these capitalization rates, are any of these gas stations or are these like retail outlets?
Those are retail, yeah.
All retail. So no
Yeah.
capitalization rates presented for gas stations, correct?
No, I don't believe there are any gas station cap rates out there. We would have found them.
If you're an owner or an investor, what type of risk do you see in a gas station?
I think the older the gas station, there's probably more risk to it because of the, the constant repair and maintenance and capital that you may have to put into it. The location is probably the strongest contributor to the cap rate. If it's a good location, obviously it's going to perform better. If it's a poor location, it's probably going to perform, worse. Also in terms of what's underneath, depending on the age of the gas tanks, pumps, canopies, that will also have some negative or positive numbers for the capitalization rate. And yeah, I hope that answers it.
We have an effective age on the property, which indicates to me that some renovations are done. Can you speak to the age of the pumps and canopy?
Well, the pumps and the pumps and tanks, for example, wouldn't be more than 15 years old. Simply because that's pretty much the limit of most tanks these days is 15 to about 20 years. So I wouldn't expect them to be more than, say, 15, 20 years. The pumps, I don't know. I haven't looked at them, but in general, say 10 to 15 years as well in terms of the lifespan.
Okay. Would you agree with me that this is at least an average or average to good location for a gas station?
I would say it's an average location. It's an average location in terms of its ability to produce profit. In terms of its location, it's probably an average to good location.
Would you agree with me that there's a healthy land to building ratio and that the property itself is well configured to be a gas station?
That really matters.
You don't think that really matters?
No.
Having extra land doesn't matter for a property value?
Well, for a gas station, if it meets its needs in terms of being able to have vehicles on it, then really that's all that matters. In terms of what happens after this in future use, well, yeah, a larger parcel of land would make it more valuable, but it's we're not looking at, for example, a higher and better use. We're looking at its current use, which is the gas station.
Have you visited the property since the sale?
I actually have. I actually took pictures of it shortly after we submitted our briefs, so I have been there.
Are those photos in your brief?
No, as I said, I actually visited them after we submitted.
Okay. Is it still being operated as a Husky?
No, it's a co-op.
And can you speak to the renovations that were done after the sale?
Well, the renovations, in my opinion, were not extensive. There's some signage differences. The building looks pretty much the same as it did before. It's just been rebranded.
Okay, so this was purchased by co-op and is continued on as a gas station, correct?
Correct.
That's all my questions, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
You, Nathan. Hey, do you have any questions of the applicant?
Just with respect to the comparables, Mr. Navarro, just so I'm understanding, they indicate things like convenience store and car wash, or small kiosk, or convenience store only. Does the small kiosk then have a car wash, or does it not have a car wash?
No, the ones that have car washes will say car wash on them.
Okay, so then it says C-store only, and it doesn't say
Yeah.
car, like, so it's a bit okay, I understand. That's my only question. Thank you.
Thank you. Ian, any questions?
I do, with respect to the adjustments value, I'm assuming that's the valuation for the canopy, tanks, pumps. You've allowed $425,000 with respect to that.
Right.
Is that amount, it's higher than what the city seems to have allowed, but is that as a result of the newer signage, the newer pumps that have been installed, and everything else? Or I'll distill it or give you a better chance. How did you arrive at that $425,000?
So that is also Marshall Swift valuation. So we assume certain ages for the canopies, pumps, and tanks. And we come up to a slightly higher value. I hope that answers your question.
Does, thank you. I suspected that, but I thought I'd get you to confirm it. The other question I have is a variance between the calculations from your comps on page 13 and the calculations used on page 18 under the income method. You have the comparables at page 13, and you summarize that or characterize that to apply a rental rate of $30 per square foot based on the comparable rents. But in your calculations on page 18, you use $28 per square foot.
Right. So while I was actually reading out my brief, I actually indicated that it was not 30, that we had actually gone with 28.
Okay.
So I corrected it while I was actually reading my brief.
Okay. Thank you. I had that starred in any event. I don't have anything further. Thank you.
Thank you, Ian. Mr. Navarro, pay your comparables on page 13, please. Comp number 6 is your, I believe it's your rebuttal evidence for 690 Sterling Lion, and you come up with a net rent of $31.72. Could I ask where you got that number from?
So if you see the total leasable area at 3,625 square feet, do you see that?
Yes.
Okay, so that is the total of the C-store and the car wash divided by the rent.
So you've included the car wash area to come up with the...
That's right. That's why it says C-store and car wash.
Yeah. Any idea what the rent on the C-store itself is? If we separate the car wash from it, or you consider that one unit and you would display it as net rent for all square footage of improvement. Yeah.
So basically what I'm saying, you're correct. I'm saying that is all one economic unit.
Okay. All right. And your Marshall Swift calculation is about $47,000 more than the assessors. And you're saying it's because you reflected the modernization of the tanks and the pumps, possibly? Is that what you were?
No. So what we do is we assume a certain age span for the pumps and tanks and the canopies. I don't know the exact ages, but that's exactly why I've come up higher than the assessor in this case.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, that's my only questions. Mr. Navarro, any requirement for summary? Or pardon me, the assessor first, sorry.
No summations. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Navarro?
No, none. Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you. That concludes 1844 Portage Avenue. Next item on the docket is item number 3, file number 23-416. Address is 3705 Portage Avenue. And we're dealing with a 2024 realty assessment appeal. Nathan, bear with us 1 second, please, so we pull up your brief. There it is. Okay. When you're ready, please.
This is file number 23-416, roll number 0721448000. Street address is 3705 Portage Avenue. This is another Husky gas station. This was constructed in 1973. We have an effective age between 1975 and 1984. The land area is 18,543 square feet, and we have a leasable area of 3,214 square feet combined. We are west down Portage now, effectively right in front of Unicity. So again, it's a high traffic location, good location for a gas station, in my opinion. This property was not part of the package sale to Red River Co-op, as you can see. So we have no sale history available on page 2. Page 3 provided photos of the subject property like usual here, one overhead and then one street view. There is another gas station on the other side of Knox there, and then that is effectively the corner of the start of Unicity going in from that area. I've included all the same rent comparables for this property as I have for my other gas stations. Page 5 shows the modeled workup. Like I stated with the last property, really the only change here is we have a slightly smaller leasable area, and the model is generated, I think, a slightly higher rent per square foot by a couple of dollars based off of that. Other than that, everything else here is the same 2% vacancy, 3% expenses, $6 shortfall, and a 5.5% capitalization rate in this instance, producing a capitalized value of $1,068,000. And there's an additional $281,000 cost value for those additionals, as we've discussed, tanks, pumps, and canopy. So the total 2024 assessment being derived here is $1,349,000. That was $1,349,000 is for the SKP stream. Second stream is for the car wash. It's on my page 6. This is 1,580 square feet, and we have a modeled rent for this area of $9.12. So unlike the agents comparables there, we kind of broken down rates, one for the SKP and then one for the car wash. Other than that, the vacancy, expenses, and shortfall are all the same, and then the car wash was actually allotted a separate capitalization rate, a higher one of 7% relative to the kiosk, which is only at 5.5. Page 7 shows the income value summary, the combination of those two streams, giving us our total market value of $1,542,000. That is the 2024 assessment that I'll be recommending be maintained today. And page 10 shows the exact same submission, just saying our position is this is owner occupied and we have no income to report. So again, we're going off of the comparables. Again, I believe our modeled rents and capitalization rates are quite reasonable considering these gas stations, and going to recommend that 2024 assessment be maintained. Thank you.
Thank you, Nathan. Marcelo, any questions of the assessored evidence presented?
Have you been at this location?
I've gotten gas at this location.
Is it still operating as a Husky gas station?
I can't say.
Okay,
Still as of today?
as of today.
Yeah, I can't say.
Okay, thank you.
Anything, Marcelo?
Oh, that's it. Thank you. I think we've covered the lease questions already, so I don't think we need to go over them again.
Well, each property is an individual appeal.
It's the
And
same leases though.
yeah, I know. I don't like to go from one property to the other, treating them as all the same when they're individual appeals. And
Okay, I will say,
maybe just a summary, perhaps, how for the record.
yeah. In terms of the comparisons, you've used the same comparisons as you've used in the previous example.
That's correct. No changes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Marcel. Ian, any questions of the assessor?
Just with respect to the variation in cap rates, and I recognize this is being treated as two separate economic units. The cap rate for the gas station, 5.5%. The cap rate for the car wash is 7%. Is this reflective of an additional age or different use, or can you tell us why that difference exists, Mr. Kupfer?
I believe the difference is more to do with the different use than the different age. And I believe that the combined capitalization rate of 5.73, that is shown on page 7, is a realistic capitalization rate for the economic unit. So I'm okay with the combination of streams. I recognize it does look a little bit funny to have two different cap rates on your streams. That's just the way our model functions, and then they weigh them and merge them together. But yes, I believe that's a function of the fact that it's a car wash, not the differentiation of ages or conditions.
Well, and the combined rate that you just indicated, the 5.73%, that's in relation to the two economic units. But is that as a recognition of the different square footage between the kiosk, or that's not a straight average between the 5.5 and the 7%? That would be 6.25. So the 5.73 is calculated how?
That is a weighted capitalization rate, and I believe it's weighted based on the operating income. It wouldn't make sense to be weighted based just solely on the square footage. I would have to do the math to triple check it, but I believe it's on the operating income.
Okay, thank you. I don't have anything further.
Thank you, Ian. Faye, any questions of the assessor?
No, thank you.
My question, Nathan, is regarding the rental rate applied to the 1,634 square foot kiosk. That would be coming from, sorry, I've lost it here. From page 4, is that right?
Page 4 shows my comparables, and
Yes.
then yes, and then page 5, the kiosk income stream. So, like I was saying with the other properties, you know, I think me and Marcelo, we're kind of showing the same trends here, where smaller kiosks tend to get quite a bit higher rents, larger kiosks get lower rents. This one is pretty similar to the last one we discussed, just a little bit smaller, so it's being modeled slightly higher. I think it's a couple dollars a foot higher than the last one.
Okay. All right, that's my only question. Thank you. Marcelo, I'm just finding your brief here. 3705. There you are. Okay. Does everybody have it?
Yeah, I've got it. Thanks.
Okay. When you're ready, please, Marcelo, 3705 Portage Avenue.
Okay, 3705 Portage Avenue, and this is a the under tenant. You can see on page 2 that is Federated Cooperatives Limited as tenant. This one, when I visited this property about 2 weeks ago, still had the signage on there as Husky. However, I believe this is already operating as a co-op. There were people there who were surveying the site, and I believe the changeover in terms of the signage, all of that is happening quite soon. So they still haven't, at that point, they still hadn't changed that over. So that picture that you see on page 6 is effectively kind of like what I saw that day that I went there. This is taken from Street View. On page 7, you can see the overhead picture. If you turn to page 12, you can see the same chart. And as you know, following what Nathan said again, the properties, this one is, for example, slightly smaller, so we've upped the rent on this one. On the previous one, we had 28. On this one, we have 32. And we've assigned $11.75 to the car wash. That gives us a combined rent of $22.05. And that is where the approach is slightly different than what the assessor has given. We consider this one economic unit. If you turn to page, I believe it's 18, you can go over the summary of it. So up at the top, you see the income. So for the entire 3,214 square feet, that is the car wash and the C-store. This property is generating $70,853. That is $22.05 per square foot. Vacancy, we haven't deviated from that 2% shortfall 6. We've included 7% non-recoverable and a cap rate of 6.50. In terms of the income value, we're at $987,535, and we've made an adjustment for the canopies, pumps, and tanks of $360,000. I believe that is again slightly higher than what the assessor has recommended. And so the end value is $1,347,535, or $1,348,000 rounded. I am open for questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Excuse me. Nathan, any questions of the applicant's evidence?
With regards to the comparables, I want to confirm numbers 1, 3, 5, and 6, you would say are relative to the subject, right? Being C-store and car wash, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, and the total leasable area for those 4 comparables are fairly similar or higher than the subject property, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and yet the rate that you've chosen, the net market rate for the subject, is only at $22.05, correct?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Did you want an explanation?
No, that's okay.
Okay.
Fee, any questions of the applicant?
No, thank you.
Ian?
My only question is with respect to the cap rate, and looking at page 18, Mr. Navarro, you've got the looking at the square footage and the net market rent per square foot. The calculations lead to your net for the single economic unit. The capitalization rate doesn't have the similar calculations. Is your position that the capitalization rate for both the car wash and the kiosk are 6.5%, or is that a blended rate reflecting a slightly higher cap rate for the car wash and a slightly lower rate for the C-store?
No, it's one economic unit. It's the cap rate for both the C-store and the car wash. If they were to sell in the open market, they wouldn't sell separately as a car wash and C-store for having only one income stream with two income streams in the same and one capitalization rate. again, we're treating this as one economic unit.
Okay, thank you. I have nothing further.
Thank you, Ian. Mr. Navarro, I'd like to follow up on the assessor's question. Could you explain the question about the rate you used?
Sure.
Thank you.
When you're talking about the rental rate?
Yes, please.
Okay. So you see the first two up at Lakewood and McPhillips. So these are slightly older, not significantly older, but I mean, we're in 2024 today. If you go back to 2004, that's 20 years ago, and 2000, and the other one is 1980 to 2007. Again, that's depending on where you know, where the middle is, you're somewhere above 20 years. The two others on Sage Creek and Sterling Line are fairly new gas stations. I don't know if you've ever been to either one. I've been to both. They were built much more recently. So this is where I, adjust the rent based on, the age comes into play as well. So that's why. But if you look at the first two, and that would be comparisons 1 and 3, one is at 2310, the other one is at 2183. So I'm within that range.
Okay. And where do you get your car wash rate from? The 1175.
So we only have 2 car wash rents to begin with, and I believe that's also what the assessor has. One is at $9, the other one is at $14.51.
Okay.
We're simply putting in a number around that. I will note that, when this was after submission though. I mean, the car wash was out of order, and that's quite common on car washes, so.
Okay. And I hate to ask out of order, out of turn here, but Nathan, where do you get your car wash rate from in your brief? Sorry, I forgot to ask you that.
Well, we have it modeled, I believe, in the $9 range, and then with our comparables there, I think we have a couple identified, both at $10.50.
Yeah.
And,
okay.
Again, all prepared by the same individual, and I believe that information is sourced through our income and expense program.
Okay. Thank you. That is all my questions. Nathan, any requirement for summary at this time?
No summary. Thank you.
Thank you. Marcelo?
None, thank you.
Okay, thank you. That concludes 3705 Portage Avenue. Does anybody need a 5-minute break? Ian?
No, I'm good. Thanks right now.
Faye, you okay?
Good.
Okay. Next property on the docket is item number 4, file number 23417. Address is 614 Dudley Avenue. And we're dealing with a 2024 realty assessment appeal. And Nathan, bear with us here, please. 614 Dudley, there you are. Nathan, when you're ready, please, 614 Dudley Avenue.
File number 23-417, roll number 1209-7612-000. The street address is 614 Dudley Avenue. This is on the corner of Dudley and Daly Street North, so we're just off of Pembina Highway here. Again, another good location. We are off of gas stations for one property. This is a commercial vehicle service related property. It's operated by the Boyd Auto Body. The land area of this property is 10,137 square feet. The leasable area is just one building, 6,839 square feet. It was built in 1953 with an effective age of 1959, so it is a bit of an older building. And we have a 2024 modeled assessment of $1,174,000 that I'm going to recommend be maintained. Page 2 of my brief shows a 2020 sale, and I've included the sales mailer from that. However, it was an associated sale between family members, so we're not using that as a basis for our analysis today. Page 3 of my brief shows photos of the subject property. Again, an overhead and a street view. You can see that it's occupied by Boyd Auto Body. My understanding is it has been for quite some time. Page 4 of my brief shows our rent comparables. So this is a sample size of our vehicle service garages throughout Winnipeg. Again, I've included all the highs and all of the lows so that you can kind of see the full spectrum here. I would note that comparable 3, 20 Lakewood, is also a Boyd Auto Body. It's a little bit older, again, 1978. It's also larger, like the subject, at 8,000 square feet and commands a $20 net rent. Page 5 of my brief shows the income stream workup here. So again, 6,839 square feet, all in one building. We have a modeled rent of $13.58. 2% vacancy, 3% expenses, $6 shortfall, and a 7.45 capitalization rate, which generates a capitalized value of $1,174,000. Page 6 of my brief shows the income value summary. Again, it's all just one stream, pretty straightforward work up there. Page 7 and 8 includes our capitalization rates, information, as well as Municipal Assessment Act excerpts. Again, a vehicle service garage. We don't have a specific category or class for this. Generally speaking, depending on the type of garage, it'll include components of office, retail, and industrial type property. Page 9 and 10 of my brief, I've included the sales questionnaire. We send this out and we get sales for these types of commercial properties, just to show that it was in fact an associated sale between family members here. And then pages 11 through 16, the end of my brief, is the last submitted income and expense questionnaire by the previous owner there. A bit confusing of a read, but they don't really indicate whether it's partially owner occupied or not. They list 10,000 as the leasable area, which kind of corresponds to the land area, but not the building area, and then indicate a 60,000 per year net lease with Boyd Auto Body. So that's what we know about the property. And then they also have the COVID questionnaire at the end there showing some minor impact from that. So based on the sample size of comparables that I've reviewed for similar properties, I believe that the rent that our model is producing is quite reasonable based on the capitalization rates. The difference, both the internal and external sources here, I think our 7.45 is also quite reasonable. So I'm going to recommend that the 2024 assessment be confirmed. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Navarro, any questions of the assessor's evidence presented?
Yes. You'll note that on page 3, the outline in red, that is our property with its borders.
Yes.
Okay. So what would you say about the land to building ratio? Is there a lot of room for parking there?
I would say it's inconsequential, like you said with our last gas station property. To be honest, they come in, they come out, they're serviced. I don't think it has a major impact.
Okay, so you wouldn't say that cars that visit an auto body shop would sit there longer than somebody who's pumping gas into their car?
I would suggest that they would sit there longer than somebody who's pumping gas into their car.
Okay. And have you taken a look at this location? Visited?
No, I haven't visited this property.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Ian, any questions of the assessor?
Yes, just turning to the sales mailer, or the sales questionnaire. Maybe you can clarify something for me, please, with respect to the it certainly appears from the names to be between related parties, but it does say as well, confirms that an appraisal, a market appraisal of the property was done. When the sales mailer is sent out and a market appraisal is noted, is a copy of the market appraisal either requested or required as the mailer is filled out?
It's not. Generally, when private appraisals are written, they're written for a specific purpose, and then they aren't publicly shared in that way. So we can request it, but it's up to them whether they want to share it or not, and also up to the appraiser. In this case, we were able to verify that the parties were related, so we didn't take it any further than that.
Okay, thank you. I have nothing further.
Thank you, Ian. Faye, any questions of the assessor?
No questions, thank you.
Thank you. Nathan, I'm looking on page 3, the photos of the property. The top photo shows the subject property. The property to the left, bordering Pembina Highway, who does that belong to? Do you know?
I quickly checked. It's owned by a numbered company, so I can't verify 100% if they're related or not with the owner or with one of the other adjacent properties.
Okay. And this is a small Boyd auto body shop, is that right?
That's right. I believe it has been for quite some time.
Okay. And the bottom photo, that little building on the left there with a bunch of venting in it. Do you know what that is? Does that belong to the subject property, I guess?
That's an excellent question, and I don't know the answer to it. I'm sorry.
Okay. Do you know if it's been assessed as square footage?
No, I can't say whether that's part of what we have here is the 6839. I would suggest probably not.
Okay. And the photo on the bottom shows a white van and a blue little station wagon there. Is that the parking area for the subject property?
I believe so, yes.
Okay. Oh, yeah, I see. Okay, yeah. That strip there on the left side that shows pavement next to the building. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, you can see it on the overhead as well.
And on the right side of the building, behind that little building we're talking about, is that also parking? Is that pavement? Along the lane there?
Yeah, it's difficult to say from the overhead. I suggest probably not.
Okay. Some kind of space between that existing building. Okay. All right. That is my only question. Mr. Navarro, bear with us 1 second here, please. When you're ready, please, Mr. Navarro.
Okay, this is 614 Dudley Street. If you turn to page 6, you can see the general location, or page 7. You can see the general location there between Daly and Dudley, just east of Pembina Highway. Now this is a Boyd auto body, and you can see the bird's eye view, which gives you a better look at the property. So you can see that there are effectively 2 sections to this building. You can see the one with the hip roof, or gable roof, I think, and then another building with a flat roof. Now, the parking lot next to it, which you were speaking about in the assessor's questioning, that is actually a parking lot for the cars that are sold on the dealership there on Pembina Highway. I forget what the name of it. It used to be a Mazda dealership. You can see that the land to building ratio is actually quite low. Under today's zoning, it actually would not be allowed, but obviously this property has been there long enough that it was grandfathered in. So turning to page 15, you can see the comparisons that we have for auto use. Some of them are significantly higher, but they are much different properties. This is a very old property, and we've estimated the rent at $12 per square foot, or a total market rent of $82,068. And we've applied a vacancy of 2%, $6 for shortfall, 7% for non-recoverables, and a capitalization rate of 7.75. If you turn to page 17, you can see the entire summary. 954,530 or 955,000 is what we are asking for. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Navarro. Nathan, any questions of the applicant?
Trying to make sense of your comparables table here. Comparables 1, 2, 3, and 5. Correct, you're showing a range from $19.73 to $5.95. Is that correct?
Correct.
So which one of these properties actually represents the subject property in your opinion? Because that's like the range.
Well, I don't think really any of them do. What we're trying to do is come up for a rent specifically for this property, and we do note those properties there on Pembina Highway that have an average of $13.40. They are slightly different, obviously, and obviously the age and the location of this property, the lack of space, those are things that we considered when we adjusted the rent to $12.
Are any of your comparables Boyd auto bodies?
No, they're not Boyd auto bodies, simply because, except for, I believe the one on McPhillips, maybe 2535 McPhillips, maybe a Boyd auto body. What I'll say though is that this is a particular location. You don't see too many of these older type of auto body shops, especially under the Boyd name. If you look at any of the comparable Boyds throughout the city, they tend to be larger properties, tend to be in much busier locations. The one on Lakewood yourself that you noted in your comparisons is in a large, I believe it's either a community or a regional shopping center. So I think it's really a slightly different location. And this is out of the way. It's in an auto use area, because I mean, you have auto body shops in this area, but generally they tend to be newer.
In your opinion, this isn't a busy location?
I don't think so, no.
How long roughly has this been operating as a vehicle service garage?
I really don't know. I mean, I could have had a look at the lease to see some example. I mean, this has been a Boyd for quite some time, but I'm not sure that it's always been an auto body shop.
Okay, thank you. That's all my questions.
Thank you. Ian, any questions of the applicant?
No, I don't think so. Thank you.
Thank you. Faye, any questions?
No, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Navarro, have you visited this property?
I did, yes.
Could I ask you, the bird's eye view on page 7, that flat roofed area that runs from the front to the back of the of the lot
Yeah,
included in the square footage? Do you know what that's used for?
that's also auto use, like auto body use.
Okay,
I'm not sure if that's the paint booth or I
Yeah.
think you're guessing on that, but
yeah, with venting and that. Yeah.
it is part of the square footage, yes.
Yeah, okay, because I'm just looking at the square footage of the lot is 10,000 square feet. And it looks like this building occupies probably 85% of the lot.
Mhm.
And yet the assessment is only based on 6,839 square feet. And I'm wondering if all the total area is being assessed for. Do you see where I'm coming from there when we look at the photo?
Yeah, I mean, there is a parking area also beside it.
Right. Yeah, maybe that's wider than it looks from the bird's eye. Okay. Mr. Assessor, any comments on when this was inspected and the square footage verified? Would you have any information?
Quick aerial measure I just did of both of those buildings combined gave me a little over 7,000 square feet. So that indicates to me that we are assessing all areas here.
Okay.
It can be a little bit tricky to tell sometimes with these overhead snapshots and stuff like that, but I believe we are assessing the building accurately.
Yeah, fair enough.
To my knowledge, this has been a Boyd auto body in a vehicle service garage for a long time. The property does have a lower land to building ratio than a lot of other properties, but obviously it's never been that big of an issue as Boyd continues to rent there. So yeah, those are my comments on it.
All right. And okay, that is all my questions. Any requirement for summary, Nathan?
No, thank you.
Okay. Marcelo?
No, thank you.
Okay, thank you. That concludes 614 Dudley Avenue, and we're going to recess for 10 minutes and take a quick break. Sally? I will now call the hearing back to order. We are next property on the docket is item number 5, file number 23-301, address 805 Ellis Avenue, dealing with a 2024 realty assessment appeal. Nathan, when you are ready, please.
File number 23-301, roll number 130311090000. Street address is 805 Ellis Avenue. This is again Husky gas station, recently sold. It's now showing the owner as Federated Co-op Limited. The actual age of construction is 1951 with an effective year of 1995, indicating that there have been some renovations done. The improvements are in pretty good condition here. We are on the corner of Ellis and Arlington. So again, this is a high traffic. It's a very good location for a gas station, in my opinion. We have a large plot of land here, 16,877 square feet, rectangular, normal shape, and a leasable area of only 1,455 square feet. We have a 2024 modeled assessment of $1,250,000. I'm going to be recommending be maintained today. Page 2 of my brief. As you can see, I've removed the post-reference package sale there again. And reiterate, this was a Husky, and I believe it's now owned by Co-op. Page 3 of my brief. I've included photos. Again, the overhead view with the outline, and then a Google Street View showing you the corner of Ellis and Arlington. Page 4 of my brief is our rent comparables table. I've made no changes here. This is the exact same rent comparables table that you saw for properties 1 and 2 today. Page 5 of my brief shows the income value workup. No car wash on this property. It's all just the one building there. So we have a 1,455 square foot kiosk being modeled with a rent of $44.22. 2% vacancy, 3% expense, non-recoverable expense allowance, and a $6 shortfall. Again, all standard for this property type. and then a capitalization rate, which I think is consistent with the other gas stations we viewed today at about 5.5%. The additional building value for this one is a bit lower. It's only 151,000. Again, that encompasses the pumps, tanks, and canopy, the Marshall and Swift valuation. And then the estimated value, combining that income stream with the additional cost value, is how we arrive at that $1,250,000. Not much else to note here within the brief. Again, page 6 shows you there's only one income stream. Page 7 and 8 are our capitalization rates and municipal assessment act excerpts. And then page 9, I've got the same inclusion here from Husky Energy, just saying we're not reporting any income, and it's our position that these are owner occupied. So again, we're basing our valuation off of the comparables available on page 4, and I believe our modeled assessment here is quite reasonable. Again, it's a slightly smaller kiosk than the other two we discussed. The rental rate is slightly higher. Other than that, there's not really any changes of note. And again, I'm going to recommend that modeled assessment be maintained. Thank you.
Thank you. Marcelo, any questions of the assessor?
Yes. Can you point to any of the leases that you have in place that you think are good indicators of the rent for this property?
Doesn't look like we have one that's specifically in the area there, or in this area. So we'd be looking at again just the sample size, the age, the location, and the size of the improvement.
Would you consider this a average, good, below average location?
For a gas station, I would consider this an above average location.
Above average, okay. And in terms of your additional building value, this property has 4 dispensers, that's 2 on each side, that's 8 pumps, 3 types of fuel, so 3 tanks, canopies. None of them seem extremely old, so I'm kind of wondering how you came up with the value of 151.
Well, I haven't come up with this value, but again, this is it's all Marshall and Swift tables, so it's the age of the improvements, and then just whatever the residual value is my understanding. So we have on file, I would assume that either there are less of these tanks or pumps than with previous ones that we've dealt with, or that they are older, and that's why the additional building value is coming in a bit lower. I haven't reviewed the specifics of what's making up this 151,000.
Do you know the age of the tanks and pumps?
Pardon me?
Do you know the age of the pumps and the tanks?
I don't know the specific age. I can see permits back to about 2004 being taken out by Mohawk Service Station to remove and replace in-ground tanks, but I haven't dug into this enough to be able to say with certainty what year or when that was actually done.
Okay. Those are my questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Marcelo. Faye, any questions of the assessor?
No, thank you.
Thank you. Ian?
Just a question with respect to the rental rate per square foot, the 44.22. Is that based solely on the size of the C-store, or is there something with respect to location? What goes into that factoring?
I believe it's largely based on the size. Like as I was indicating, larger sizes are going to get slightly lower rates. This one's a bit smaller, so it's getting pumped up here. Generally, the age and location I find correspond more to our capitalization rates and what goes into that, but it's a bit of a recipe. I can't say I can say it's one thing or the other specifically, but I do believe that this is for a gas station. Like I said, high traffic, very good location. And given the size of it, I would say that our $44 rent is probably reasonable given both of the comparable tables that have been presented by myself and the applicant.
Okay, thank you. I have nothing further.
Thank you, Ian. Marcella, my question would be these photos on page 3 or the bottom photo. When would that have been taken? Is that, it's not a current one, I guess, is it?
Nathan?
Sorry, page 3?
Yes. Sorry, Nate, I'm sorry.
The Google Street View, it kind of changes. I guess it's whenever they send the car down the street. I don't have the exact date here, but obviously before the sale because they're still showing Husky signage here.
Yeah, I'm looking at $1.26 a liter, so it's obviously
It's ancient.
Yeah.
or I'm going there right away after this hearing. No.
Fair
Yeah.
point.
So let's see. Okay. So did you say that it was had been re-signed and everything now, the current physical condition? Do you know?
I haven't personally inspected it, but I'm showing the ownership has changed over. So I would assume that either it has or they will soon be in the process of renaming it as a co-op.
Okay, perfect. All right, that's all my questions. Thank you. Marcelo, bear with us a second here. When you're ready, sir, please.
Okay, this is 805 Ellis Avenue on the corner of Ellis Avenue and Arlington Street. And if you go to page 8, I believe you can see some of this, the same picture I believe that the assessor has used from the Google Street View. And then an overhead of the property. You can see there on the corner of Arlington and Ellis. So I was at this location again after submission, and the signage is still there. The Husky signage is still there. So I believe they're probably in the process of changing that in the near future. On page 13, you can see the same rental comparables that we've seen. This is a C-store only. We've gone with a rent of $24. $24 we think is representative of this location. I don't think the location is that great. So again, we've gone with a lower rent. However, you can see our 4 comparisons are on Regent 1544. Number 7 is Osborne 3293. 120 Keewatin, that's 30, and 1091 Henderson Highway, that's $20. Same vacancy, same shortfall. We've gone with the 7% non-recoverables. You can see our workup on page 18, $24 per square foot at 1,455 square feet. That's $34,920. And then we have a net operating income of $31,651. Capitalization rate of 6.75. Income value of $468,911 or $469. Adjustments of $425. We come to an indicated market value of $893,911. And that is my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Marcelo. Nathan, any questions of the applicant's evidence?
I think the only thing we disagree about is the quality of the location. So I'm hoping Marcelo can explain why he doesn't think this would be a good location for a gas station.
Well, in comparison to some of the other ones that I've looked at on Portage Avenue or other better locations, Sterling Line, Sage Creek, other areas of the city where they're strategically placed either near a shopping center or on a very busy major thoroughfare. I think this one is at a disadvantage. I obviously submitted before my inspection, but upon my inspection, during the 15 or 20 minutes that I was there, there was maybe one car that pulled up to this gas station. So maybe not the best time, but still, I've known this location for many years. I don't think it's as good as location. It's simply not the major thoroughfare that we see on other sites. So that's why we've gone with a lower rent on it. And yes, it is a difference of opinion on the location.
Are there any gas stations surrounding the property? Anything that might influence?
No.
Okay, no. Okay. That's all my questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Ian, any questions of the applicant?
Just with respect to the rent that's chosen for $24 per square foot, I'm looking at the comps for your C-store only on your page, I've lost page number 13 here. The closest C-store for size would be your comp 7 at 1336 square feet. Am I accurate on that?
Which number is that?
Comp number 7 at Osborne Street.
Okay, yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'll just note that I think Osborne is simply just a busier location.
Okay, and I know you've had the discussion with Mr. Kupfer about the quality of the location. I'm not going to get into that. I was just questioning both why and how you've gone through why, but how did you select the $24 per square foot based on an average of all of the comps, or based on an assessment of all the comps, or just the C-store comps? If you could just delve into that a little bit.
No, it's just the C-store comps. So basically what I do is, I'll look at all of them together and then just adjust downward based on the location. In my opinion, this location again is, I don't want to say negative things about it, but I find it inferior to other locations that I'm looking at.
Okay, thank you.
That's why I've made such a large adjustment on it.
Okay, thank you. I've got nothing further.
Thank you, Ian. Faye, any questions?
No, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Marcelo, I'm going to follow up on Nathan's question about the catchment area for this particular station. Are there, from your experience, are there any gas stations even close in this whole West End area?
Okay, so the next gas station would be probably on the corner of Notre Dame and McPhillips. Beyond that, we are still in the West End. I believe you would have to go closer to Portage Avenue to find, any closer stations, again, on Portage Avenue. And further down on Arlington, further up on Arlington, going north, you would find more gas stations, but that would be across the Arlington Bridge, I believe.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Thank you for that. That's all my questions. Nathan, any requirement for summary?
No, thank you.
Marcelo, any requirements for summary?
No, thank you.
Okay, thank you. That concludes 805 Ellis Avenue. Last item on the docket is item number 6, file number 23-414. Address is 80 Keewatin Street. And we are dealing with a um, 2024 Realty Assessment Appeal. And I'm going to find your brief here, Nathan. There we are. Okay. Nathan, when you're ready, please, 80 Keewatin Street.
File number 23-414, roll number 0709 0793100. And the street address is 80 Keewatin Street. This is again a Husky gas station. This is constructed in 2012, so this one, like the others we discussed, is actually quite new. We have a large piece of land here. It's over 20,000 square feet, 20,585 square feet. And we have a leasable area of 1,344 square feet. And again, that is just a store, no car wash on site here. We are at the corner of Keewatin and Alexander, so we're just south of Logan Avenue towards the north end of the city. We have a 2024 modeled assessment of $1,075,000 that I'm going to be recommending be maintained. Page 3 of my brief again shows photos of the property, one overhead and one street view. I've done my best to outline it for you. Again, I have pretty terrible penmanship. Again, on the corner of Keewatin and Alexander, so you are getting a decent amount of exposure here in traffic. The comparables that you've been seeing this morning, no inclusions or exclusions here. Everything is the same. Page 5 of my brief shows the actual income stream workup here. So this is the smallest, I believe, of the kiosks we've discussed today at 1,344 square feet. As such, we've got a rent at just under $44 a foot, which is trending a little bit higher. All of our other parameters here are the same. 2% vacancy, 3% expense, a $6 shortfall. But I would note we have an elevated capitalization rate on this property of 6.75. In relation to the other gas stations we've discussed today, that is quite a bit higher. And I believe the model is compensating for the location of this property in that capitalization rate. Because like I said, this is actually newer. It's a newer building. So I believe that's why the elevated capitalization rate is being produced and selected. Page 6 of my brief shows the income value summary. Again, just one stream on this property. 828,000 of income, and then 247,000 of additional building value for the tanks, pumps, and canopy, giving us that total of 1,075,000. Page 7 and 8 of my brief, again, capitalization rate table and municipal assessment excerpts, and then I've included the income and expense questionnaire here, or at least what was submitted by the owner. I'm not sure if these are, to be honest, legitimate rents, or if this is just what was submitted by the owner, and this is, Husky's position again that these are owner occupied and they don't really represent market rents. So my position here would be to turn to our comparables, like usual here, and I believe our $43.89 rent falls within our range, given the size and the age of this kiosk. It seems quite reasonable. And then again, we have an elevated capitalization rate, I believe, can be attributed to the location. So those are the elements of our $1,075,000 2024 assessment. And again, I'm going to recommend that that be confirmed. Thank you.
Thank you, Nathan. Marcelo, any questions of the assessor's evidence?
Yeah. When you said that the model is compensating for the location in this situation, what in particular about this location would the model be adjusting for?
Well, it would be using similar properties within this area of the city to derive its capitalization rate ideally. Like I said, I would say this is an inferior location to the others we've discussed. However, it's also quite a bit newer of a building. So I guess when you put all of that into our model, it came up with a 6.75% capitalization rate.
Okay. Okay, those are my questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Marcelo. Faye, any questions of the assessor's evidence?
No, thank you.
Thank you. Ian, any questions of the assessor?
Just with respect to what you said about this being an inferior location, what would the factors be determining the superiority or inferiority of a location?
It's a good question. So, in my opinion, gas stations, they're like banks. They don't follow with residential property trends. So, Arlington and Ellis, for example, wouldn't be the highest valued location for a home or for an apartment building. You'd get a much higher value in Tuxedo, but you'd sell a heck of a lot more gas on the corner of Arlington and Ellis than you would in Tuxedo. And gas is sold for generally the same price as it is across the city. So largely with gas stations, it is location, location, location. It's getting people through the door. So for me, the locations that we've discussed today, they've all been, Husky Co-op, they know how to pick gas stations, right? They pick good locations generally. I would say that this one on Keewatin is a little bit more removed than the other ones we've discussed, particularly the last one right on the corner of Arlington and Ellis. Really high traffic location. I would consider this one to be more of a moderate traffic location.
Thank you. I don't have anything else.
Thanks, Ian. And I have no questions at all. Marcelo, let me find your brief here, please. Where'd you go? Okay. When you're ready, please, 80 Keewatin Street, Marcelo.
Yeah, 80 Keewatin. This is just, I believe, on page. You can see the general location on page 9 on the corner of Alexander and Keewatin. Built in 2012. You can see the same comparables that we've seen here. I've gone with a rent of $23 per square foot. Based on the age of the property, this might be a little bit low for this location. I would say probably on the upper end, we'd be looking at about $35 per square foot at this location. So we are, I think, a little bit low on the rate there. In terms of the vacancy allowance, 2%, $6 for shortfall, 7% for non-recoverables. And in terms of the capitalization rate, 6.75, we landed on the same capitalization rate. What I will say is that most of the locations that we've looked at have been in the 6.75 to 6.5 range. 6.75 indicating, I think, what we think of as more risk to the property. And I believe we used the same capitalization rate for the property in the previous situation. In terms of the adjustments, $425,000 again. This is 4 dispensers, 2 pumps on each side, so that's effectively 8 pumps. I don't know how the assessor's adjustments are as low as they are. We've gone with 425, indicated market value of 839,991, or 840,000. And that is my presentation.
Thank you, Marcella, for clarification. Are you making a verbal recommendation to raise your square foot rate to $35 a square foot?
No, I said on the upper end, that would be probably where you would be on the upper end. we're at 23. I could probably justify moving it up a couple of dollars, but I don't think I would move it very much. And you have to point out that I have to point out that I'm almost exactly where I am at for the location at 805 Alice Avenue, because I think there's a lot in common with the two locations. I said neither location is a great location, so that's why I've put a higher capitalization rate. I've put a lower rent on them. So I don't think we should be as high as 35. No, I would probably maybe add a couple of dollars more to it.
Okay, so we've got 1,344 square feet, and you're saying you're gonna change it to $25 a square foot? Is that fair?
Yeah, I would say that's probably fair.
Okay, would you mind running the numbers for me and giving me a revised valuation
Sure.
based on your statement, please?
Give me about 5 minutes.
Of course. Might as well get this clear before we proceed with questioning.
Would you like me to go to recess, Mr. Chair?
I don't. Marcelo's quick, I think. We're good.
Okay.
Okay, would you mind giving us the your revised NOI?
So 1344 at $25 per square foot is 33,600 minus $672 for vacancy. That's the 2% vacancy. That gives us an effective market income of $32,928 minus $161 for shortfall, $1,546 for management, and $659 for other. That's a deduction, a total deduction of expenses of $2,366. So we take out $2,366 from $32,928. That gives us a sum of $30,562. That's the net operating income. 30,000.
Okay.
$562.
Thank you.
And the capitalization rate is 6.75. That gives us a capitalized value of $452,770. Now the adjustments there at 425 stay the same. So the total is $877,770. Or 878,000 rounded.
Perfect. Thank you for doing that. Nathan, any questions of the applicant?
No, I don't think I have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Hey, any questions?
No questions, thank you.
Thank you. Ian, any questions?
No, thank you.
Thank you. And I have no questions either. Any requirement for summary? Nathan?
None, sir.
Thank you. Marcelo, any
No, thank you.
summary?
Thank you.
Okay, that concludes 80 Keewatin Street. We have heard all the items scheduled on the docket today, and this hearing is now adjourned. Thank you to both parties for appearing.